Welcome to Half a Point, the podcast that went 7-3 against the spread last week. Not getting that at Dan Does Footy, channeling my inner Bailey Smith there. This week is our round nine best bets episode where we'll each be giving our five best picks against the spread. To help me break it down, I am joined by my co-host, Carlton, superfan. Cass, mate, off a 4-1 week. How you feeling, mate?
Yeah, good week for picks. Not a great week as a supporter, but we'll get into that a bit later. But yeah, good to see another 4-1 week. Definitely needed it.
Yeah, mate, you're on fire at the moment. A couple of winning weeks in a row. If you're new to the channel, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also active on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, so give us a follow on those, and also a reminder to please gamble responsibly. All right, Cast, we'll jump into round eight. It was an interesting round of footy. I think Dogs went 4-5 ATS. So not a great week for the Dogs, but there are a few covers in there. Starting off with Essendon, North Melbourne. Essendon ended up winning by 3 points. You saw both teams out on their feet at the end of the game there. Um, I don't know, man. We said last week, like you can't lay that many points with Essendon against anybody, really. And
Yeah.
that's what came to be. They got off to a pretty hot start. They probably should have lost that game in the end. North are always just like one or two handballs away, but get the cover in the end. So pretty happy with that. St Kilda, Fremantle, demolition job. I'll let you break it down.
Yeah, what a boring start to a game of footy that was.
Mate,
There was like,
I actually disagree. I actually love these defensive. I
really?
love these defensive games. It's like that Super Bowl that was a few years ago, and the final score was 13-3, and everyone hated
Yeah.
it. Everyone was like, "What a crap watch!" But I love you when you see Ross's game plan just implemented, and you know that it's going to be a hard fought, tough game, and you're on the Saints and
Yeah.
you're catching points. You're just like, "Oh, this is the dream scenario." I don't know, but what do you
Yeah,
think
no,
about it?
fair enough. Not for everyone. But no, it was definitely like a big defense heavy game. But then we saw about after half time, St Kilda just ran away with a little bit. Freo has nothing in them. You caught them, fraud mantle. They definitely showed their true colors there, eh?
Mate, I've been saying we said it in the preseason. These guys are the biggest frauds. They're not a final side. There's no way this team makes finals, but we said in the preseason, a lot of pundits had them top four premiership even. Are just so stupid. Um,
Yeah.
they're just not an established team. Moving on to Western Bulldogs, Port Adelaide, demolition job, just like we both called here at half a point. Um, they just love playing at Ballarat. Even Port Adelaide, we said that they're frauds. We know they were coming off three in a row, but we thought that even those three wins were a bit fraud-like. Yeah, Western Bulldogs are the real deal. I say it, mate. I say it every week. I'm falling in love with this Western Bulldogs team, man. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
jump ship here, but I really love them. They win by 90 points in the end. Moving on to Adelaide Carlton.
Oh boy. This was a tough one.
You
I'm
got the
I'm
pick
glad
right.
I Yeah, got the pick right, which is always great. But yeah, I knew from the start it was just one of those games where we're just not going to be able to play good footy. And there you go. We got thumped by 60 points. So a terrible outing for the Blues. Had no answers to Adelaide at all. I struggled to rewatch the game because I didn't get to watch it live. But yeah, that was tough watch.
Yeah, I think it probably says a little bit more about Adelaide than Carlton, but still a really good showing there from Adelaide. Moving on to Collingwood Geelong, man. I told you last week, man, it took guts going with Geelong side. I didn't have the guts, you had the guts. And mate, it turned out perfectly in the end. Collingwood almost at the fairy tale finish for Jack Crisp. We fall short, but mate, I don't know, man. There's no other team in the league that down that many points that late has a chance. We genuinely have a chance. And just being a supporter of this team, like, man, it's so good. It's giving
Yeah.
2023 vibes as well, or 2022 vibes when we had all those really close wins and the comebacks and things like that. So, really good game. Really sad that we didn't get the win because it would have been amazing if we won. But yeah, talking about the betting side of it, mate, Geelong was a great pick, mate. Looking back, like that
Yeah.
was like it was you got to trust the numbers. It was a strong professional side. the number was fishy, but then like, oh man, it was all there. So a really good pick. Moving on to West Coast, Melbourne. Did you watch it?
Yeah. No, I didn't watch it. Missed out on a few games this week, but yeah, I think it was a good outing from Melbourne, especially in that third quarter where they just piled on quite a few goals. I think they maybe got like 7 or 8 goals in that quarter. So yeah, I guess it was nice to see Melbourne cover.
Yeah, they cover as away favorites here, so
Yeah, so
yeah,
like to
interesting.
see it, but also not really.
Yeah, exactly. I've not really watched that game. Sydney GWS again, man. Like you jumped on a really good side here. I'll let you break it down if you want to actually.
Yeah, I mean, just had a bit of a feeling, really. Like you see how Giants have been playing the past few weeks. They're really needing to sort something out, and they pretty much after that first quarter they were quite a few points down. And then Sydney were just able to stay in the contest there and not really let Giants get away with anything there. So yeah, it was a good game, a good fight from Sydney. Yeah, a bit to prove here for GWS, I reckon, for the rest of the year.
That's right. Once again, just proving one if you jump on these strong professional sides long term, they're going to come out. Like if just jumping on Sydney is just so scary last week. Like looking back now, you're like, oh, of course Sydney on the side. But
Yeah.
mate, if you're gonna catch 9 points against that Giant side, which you thought would come back, yeah, so gutsy pick again. So well done again. Hawthorn, Richmond. Um, I don't know. Do you wanna talk about this
Yeah,
one?
so I guess this one was just nothing really there except the demolition job. Hawks sort of looking like that side that put away the really bad sides. Yeah, I pretty much won every single quarter. I think after the first quarter, I was like, oh, maybe the Tigers have a bit of fight
Yeah.
here, a bit defensively, but nah, turned it all around in the second quarter and yeah, ran away with it in the end pretty
Yeah,
easily.
they cover as 47-point favorites. So you're probably looking that's pretty probably you probably got a good number in the end there.
Yeah,
If it was in the 50s and you went with Richmond, I actually wouldn't be too mad about what happened, but 47 was ended up being a really good number. If you remember back to round one, Carlton were 49.5-point favorites against this Richmond side, and I don't think we've seen that high of a spread. Um, but yeah, so you're getting a better number with a better team in
yeah,
Hawthorn there. Brisbane, Gold Coast, disappointing outing from the Gold Coast Suns. We were both on them. We bought into it, mate, and this happens every year. Like they
yeah,
just get beat up by the big brother, which is exactly what our fear was, and that ended up happening. So disappointing result, but whatever, that tends to happen as well. So I go 3-2. So I have a winning week. You went 4-1, so a really good week. So now we're both above 500, 21 and 19 ATS for both of us. So pretty good where we are. We say quite often that professional bettors go around 56% against the spread. So obviously we're not there yet, but yeah, last year we went 57 against percent against the spread. So last year was a really good year. We're coming back down to the mean a little bit this year, but we're still gonna go with these big professional sides. Still only a third of the way into the year as well, so plenty of time to get up there and get up into those mid 50s there as well.
yeah.
All right, let's jump into round nine here. Starting off with Fremantle versus Collingwood. Thursday night game at Optus. Last time they played, Fremantle were 4.5-point favorites at Optus, but it was a draw. Fremantle actually opened as dogs in that game as well, and went to favorites. In this game round, they're 2.5-point favorites, and they also opened as um underdogs at like 11 and a half. But then yeah, Collingwood announced that a bunch of people are not going to be resting. So Fremantle are now 2.5-point favorites. Where you going, Cass?
Starting off the day with an absolute stay away from me. I have zero read on this, especially after like the players were announced. I was just I'm a bit too nervous to go on this one. But if I had to jump on a team here, it would probably be Collingwood. As the dogs, fraud mantle just, can you back them? Not sure.
You
But yeah.
absolutely can, mate. Give me Fremantle minus 2.5 here. I love this pick, mate. When this is plus like 11 and a half, I absolutely hammered it, man. I was so sad to see it like come down this much.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be plus 2.5. I sort of made it plus 2.5 with all the Collingwood outs and stuff. But Fremantle is the obvious side here, mate. Collingwood coming off a 5-day break, just a terrible spot for them. I know that the line sort of accounted for all those missing names, but it's still a really bad spot for the rest of the side. Fremantle obviously coming off a terrible performance against the Saints.
Yeah.
Extra day's rest. Collingwood coming off a really big emotional game against the Cats. Short week, traveling across the country, um, playing on Thursday night. Like if you're on Collingwood in the points now, I can understand it because you're catching points. I just don't think this is a great spot though, or a great number really. Like you'd be wanting to catch at least a goal here, I'd say. Um, we've seen Fremantle in these spots and they've blown it before, so I'm not extremely confident. Like if they were catching points, I'd absolutely love it. But mate, Fremantle minus 2.5 is my first pick and probably my favorite pick of the week, I'd say. Moving on to St Kilda versus Carlton Friday night game at the MCG. I think this Spuds match. Last time they played Carlton were 4.5 point favorites and St Kilda won by 2. We all remember that game in round 24 last year, when you were in absolute bits there. This time around, St Kilda are 7.5 point dogs. I'm staying away from this one. I can understand going on both sides here. I'd probably lean Carlton at this number, but I mean, if you go with Ross Lyon as a dog at plus 7.5, I'm not going to blame you either. Um, I still believe in this Carlton team, man. I still think that they're better than what people perceive. I feel like this number should be around like 13, maybe. In which case, I might have jumped on St Kilda, but at this number, I lean Carlton, but I'm staying away from it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to include it into my five, but if I was to go with a team here, it'd probably be Carlton as well.
Hmm.
Just it's a Carlton are a team that just need to bounce back here. That's pretty much season on the line. I feel like, we said that about the Geelong game the week before, but this, we're coming into like round what, eight, round nine.
Yep.
So yeah, you need to win this game in order to, be a chance of playing good footy in September. So. Going on Carlton here.
Yeah, very fair. Moving on to Melbourne versus Hawthorn. Melbourne are 23.5 point dogs. Last time they played, Melbourne were 23.5 point favorites, and ended up winning by 55. That was really early on though last year. Where are you going with this one?
Um, I've gone with Melbourne here at plus 23 and a half.
Ooh.
I just think they're gonna come up. I think they're gonna start off really well. And sort of surprise Hawthorn a little bit, who had it a bit easy last week. So if they're gonna take that same energy into this week, who knows? But yeah, I just think Melbourne will surprise them a little bit. I'm not gonna say that they're gonna win. But I like the pick at Melbourne plus 23 and a half.
I absolutely love it, mate. Stay away from me, but I absolutely love it. Like it almost made my five. I'd also be on Melbourne as well. I think they're a live dog here. I think they have a chance to upset the Hawks here. I just don't think this Hawthorn team is as good as what people perceive. They were really hot last year and earlier this year, and I think people are sort of riding off of that. But they've had a couple of layups the last couple of weeks. Melbourne coming off 3 wins, so maybe not getting a great number in the market, but I don't know, man. I have a feeling that this Melbourne team could
Yeah.
pull off the upset here. You're catching 4 goals, so I love it.
Mate, covering all these spreads makes me kind of hungry.
Hmm. Should we order something from the cake sorority?
Ah, yes, the cake sorority, where every cake is a slice of sisterhood or brotherhood.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, anniversary, or a glorious cover, the cake sorority has a perfect treat for every occasion.
Shoot them a message on Insta at the cake sorority and use the code half a point for 10% off your next order.
That's code half a point for 10% off your next order. Your spread is covered with the cake sorority.
Yeah, good pick there. Moving on to Essendon versus Sydney, Saturday afternoon at Marvel. Last time they played Sydney were 5.5 point road favourites, and won by 39. That was late on last year. This time around, Essendon are 8.5 point dogs. I'm also staying away from this one. The thing with this is a team that gets like super banged up, you genuinely want to back them the next week because you're probably getting a good number, and the coaching staff have a little bit of time. Usually, they can cover for the first couple, like 1 or 2 weeks. We see this in the NFL a lot. When the QB gets injured, you want to jump on that team still because you're probably going to get a really good number, and like the team can cover. The same thing applies here. The reason I'm staying away is because Sydney are covered as road favorites versus North. Um, I just wish I got a better number than 8.5. I feel like if it was in the teens, I'd probably jump on Essendon, but at 8.5, it's stay away from me. What do you think?
Yeah, this is one that I really struggled with, but I've jumped on Essendon here at plus 8.5.
Yep.
Yeah, sort of same reason that you said. They have been banged up a little bit. So I think, everyone's thinking Essendon's got their backs to the wall, but keeping in mind that Sydney had a huge win last week as well, and I'm sure that was a big emotional win for them that meant a lot, especially when it's a derby. So yeah, I've jumped on Essendon here at plus 8.5.
Yep. Don't hate it at all. Moving on to Gold Coast versus the Western Bulldogs Saturday night game at TIO Stadium in Darwin. Watch out, Bellydale. Last time they played, sorry, last time they played, Western Bulldogs were 8.5 point favorites. And they won by 48 at Mars. So another one in Ballarat for the Western Bulldogs. This time around, Gold Coast are 2.5 point dogs. We're going with this one.
This one, it's a stay away for me. I'm a bit
Mm.
unsure of this one. I love the look of the Bulldogs. Definitely love the look of them. But also you just never know when Gold Coast are going to come out and surprise you, especially when doggies have had such a good season so far and such a big win last week. Um, you know, Gold Coast have proven us wrong so far this year. So it's just say they're not going to do it this time as well. But yeah, so that's why I'm staying away. What about you?
Yeah, stay away from me as well, actually. Western Bulldogs are nothing really here. I know, but they're just an away favorite. But I don't mind taking them at 2.5. Like it's really
Mm.
short line. As I said, man, this Western Bulldogs team is just they're just so good right now. My fear is that the market's sort of starting to catch up now. I don't know if they're all the way there yet, but yeah, if Western Bulldogs are catching 2.5 here, which is what they opened at, before last week's games, then maybe I'd be on the Bulldogs here. Laying the 2.5, I don't love it. Also, this Gold Coast team in Darwin is just really good as well. So I really want to be in Western Bulldogs, but I can't do it. Not against Gold Coast at home, catching points in Darwin. So,
Yeah.
yeah, stay away from me. Moving on to Port Adelaide versus Adelaide. So the showdown, Saturday night as well at the Adelaide Oval. Last time they played, Port were 13.5 point favorites, but won by 22. This time around, Port Adelaide are 9.5 point dogs. Give me Port Adelaide plus 9.5 here, and give me Port Adelaide to cause the upset versus my Adelaide Crows. I know, I know, I know. I say, oh yeah, fraud Adelaide, fraud Adelaide, fraud Adelaide, and I'm in love with Adelaide Crows, and I'm going with fraud Adelaide here. I know, but we see this all the time. You got to go with the dog here in these showdowns. Last year's showdown, I think Adelaide were catching points and they ended up winning by 30, I think. Yeah, this time around, Port Adelaide coming off a really bad performance as well. Adelaide coming off a huge win. 9.5 is a pretty good number. I think they win outright. They're still a decent side, based on like the side compared to last year is pretty similar. But they're catching points this time. Yep, Adelaide looks really good. Will I be shocked if Adelaide win and cover? Not really, but I'm going to just play the long-term winner here, and that's Port Adelaide plus 9.5. What do you think?
Yeah, a bit of back and forth with me on this one. I think it is. I think Port Adelaide is the correct pick. But yeah, it's just one that I couldn't put any confidence behind. So I've stayed away with this one. But yeah, like you said, if I had to pick, it would definitely be Port Adelaide plus 9.5 here.
Yep, fair enough. Moving on to Richmond versus West Coast. Last time they played, Richmond were 19.5 point favorites in our contest. And West Coast ended up winning by 39. Um, this time around, Richmond are 11.5 point favorites. Where are you going with this one?
Mate, Richmond at the MCG. I have to jump on Richmond here. Richmond at minus 11.5. I like the look of it. I like the look of the Tigers at the moment. They're just putting up a good contest, I reckon. Let's forget about last week. But besides that, I think they're a decent side. They're just putting it all together. And West Coast sort of just look like they're all over the place. I don't really see much from them as opposed to Richmond. They're all like working together really well. There's good team chemistry there. So yeah, I'm jumping on Richmond here. I reckon they'll win by about 20 odd points here.
Wild, wild pick, mate. Give me West Coast plus 11.5 and give me West Coast to win here. What is that pick, mate? Richmond laying points is insane. I'd understand if you stayed away from it, but you're jumping on Richmond. Okay. I
Yeah,
don't know, man. Like with these bad team matchups, you just want to jump on the dog, I'd say, because there's no way that Richmond should be laying almost 2 goals against anyone. I know West Coast are looking really bad, but this is the bottom of the market for this West Coast team. We saw last year Richmond was their first win. Yes, it was at home. And yes, they were catching points, but I don't know, man. This West Coast team, maybe they see it as an opportunity to get their first win on. So maybe they're going to come in with a lot of effort. But yeah, man, you have to jump on the bad team here. I mean, I guess the worst team here, and that's definitely West Coast here. So yeah, give me a West
yeah,
Coast plus 11.5 here. All right, so we're clashing on
right.
that one. Interesting one, kind of a
Yeah,
dead rubber-ish game, which
yeah.
now turned kind of interesting. All right, we'll
Bit
see
of
what
a
happens.
contest. Yeah.
Moving on to Geelong versus GWS Giants. Last time they played, Geelong were 11.5 point favorites at GMHB, and Giants won by 4. This time around, Geelong are 17.5 point favorites. Give me the GWS Giants plus 17.5. And give me the Giants to win outright here as well. I love this spot for the Giants. Just bottom of the market for this Giant side, coming off 3 L's. You're catching a really good number against the Cats here, who are coming off a really big emotional win against the Pies. They've been 2-0 as home favorites at GMHBA this year, once against Fremantle and once against Melbourne. Those are bad teams. The Giants are not a bad team. Yep, they're in a little bit of a rut here, but long term, I do believe in this Giants team for this premiership. So even if you want to jump on Giants premiership odds, probably now's the best time to do it because you're probably going to get some pretty good odds. Um, the Giants are not frauds. They're a legit team. Yep, they've lost a few games in a row. Maybe they're not as good as what we perceive to be, but you got to peak at the right time, and I feel like it's sort of prime for the Giants here. But yeah, for this specific game, given the Giants plus 17.5, what do you think?
Give me Giants plus 17 and a half. I
Here
like
we
the look
go.
of it. That was my instant pick. And I reckon they'll win this game outright. I'm pretty confident on that.
Wow.
Please do not prove me wrong.
Wow.
Um, yeah, no, I think, they've like you said, bottom of the barrel here. They're going to be here to prove something to the competition. They're not completely out of it. Season on the line, sort of like Carlton here. But yeah,
Oh, that doesn't bode well.
but yeah, I think Giants definitely will come out with a win here.
Yeah, wow. I can't believe you're so confident on the win. I love the points here, but yeah, I don't know if they'll win outright. I'm picking them to win, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to North Melbourne versus Brisbane Sunday night or Sunday afternoon game at Ninja Stadium. Last time, which is in Tasmania. Last time they played, Brisbane were 34.5 point favorites at normal win gather round and won by 70. This time around, North Melbourne are 36.5 point dogs. Where are you going with this one?
This one, bit of a tough one. But I'm going with North Melbourne here at plus 36 and a half. I think they obviously have a bit of fight in them. They're not a completely dull team. And they did well against Essendon, given what they had to play with. A bit of a messy game, but they still did pretty well. And I just don't feel like how have Brisbane gone covering away from home? I don't think too well. Um,
Think back to Sydney. They covered against Sydney just. Against St Kilda, they covered as away favourites. That's anyone I can think of. So
all
not
right,
great
we'll
for
see.
us here.
Yeah, not great for us, but yeah, I'm going with North Melbourne here. What about you?
Yeah, give me North Melbourne plus 36 and a half. And there is a world where North Melbourne win this game. I bet it. I bet North Melbourne to win at $6.25 here. Mate,
Jeez.
I think there's a world where that happens. But I love catching 6 goals here. This is a pretty easy pick, I think. Just such a sleepy spot for this Brisbane side. Like coming off a big win against the Suns, North Melbourne off extended rest as well. Going out of Tasmania. I don't know if I'm a Brisbane player, I'd just be like Siebes. Like I don't know. I know these are pro athletes, but surely they like come just after some weeks as well.
Yeah,
I feel like this is a Siebes week for Brisbane. Yeah, I feel like they expect to sleepwalk through this game. But we see, I just feel like with this North Melbourne team, they're always just like a handball or two away or a kick or two away from like really being dangerous. We can see that like they can pile on the score as well. So there is a world where North Melbourne win this game. I'm not going to officially tip it in my tipping comp. I have bet it though. So yeah, but I love the points here. Give me North Melbourne plus 36 and a half here. And for them to possibly cause the upset. All right. That
yeah.
wraps up our round nine picks. You want to run through your five first?
Yep. So I've got Melbourne at plus 23 and a half, Essendon at plus 8.5, Richmond minus 11 and a half, GWS at plus 17 and a half, and North Melbourne at plus 36 and a half.
Very nice. Is that two favorites?
That is one
One
favorite.
favorite. Just Richmond.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I'm on Fremantle minus 2.5. I think that's the easiest pick of the week. I'm on Port Adelaide plus 9.5. West Coast plus 11.5, GWS plus 17.5, and North Melbourne plus 36.5. So here we get back to going with four dogs and a favorite. If Fremantle were catching points, I'd be on five dogs. So they switched to favorites. So I was like, oh great, four dogs and a favorite.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, Cuss, closing thoughts before we wrap up here.
Just want another positive week, at least another 3-2. But yeah, we'll see how we go.
Cuss actually had a dream that he went 5-0.
That was meant to stay behind closed doors. But yeah, I had a dream I went 5-0, so I think I've jinxed myself already for this week.
He was like, don't say it on the podcast. I was like, I'm saying it. Right. But we'll see. We'll see if dreams become reality here. Um, as a reminder, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, see you later.